back, viewers and listeners, to a slightly unorthodox yet special episode of Dudes for the Dead podcast. So we are approaching the end of season 9.
I think we've got 3 left.
Still got a few episodes to go. But as is tradition, we'd like to end our seasons with a top 10 list. And given that we are only in the first half of the year, we will save our top 10 films of 2026 till the end of season 10. So we are returning the bag.
The eye bag.
This is my dice bag for D&D. But it works well for this. So what we've done and what we've done in the past is put in a variety of subgenres, and we're going to randomly draw for which one will be our top 10 for this season. So we thought just for a little extra drama, we would do a live pulling. So this is not staged.
Nope, not staged at all.
You're going to see us draw from the bag. So do you want to hold the bag open and I'll read the options? So these are the potential possibilities for our top 10. Last time we did a draw was horror verite, or like realistic horror. We've also done our top 10 80s horror, our top 10 found footage, and we did our special top 25 of the 2000s for our like 50th or something.
Didn't we do an all-time one too?
Oh yeah, of course. At our first season, which we are going to follow this with a from the archive special from our first season, which was our all-time top 10 favorite horror films of all time. So possible options are top 10 slasher films, top 10 supernatural or ghost films, top 10 gothic horror films, top 10 occult or religious horror, home invasions.
I'm hoping for occult.
Sci-fi horror.
Sci-fi's okay too.
Action horror. Horror comedy.
Yeah, pretty good.
Vampire films, of which there are many.
100%.
Zombie films, a personal favorite of mine. Folk horror. Actually, I really like folk horror.
Yeah, I like folk horror too.
Yeah, folk horror. Body horror, which there are many.
Too,
disturbing or transgressive. So the idea here would be, instead of being our favorites, these would be like our top 10 most disturbing films.
And there's plenty of disturbing films.
Controversial ones, which I'm sure people can think of. And finally, creature features. So we'll...
you should mix that up a little bit.
Give this a good shake. Since I put them in here, we'll let the other face draw them out. Now, do you want to do like our third one, or do you want to just whatever the first one is? Or
yes, sure. Let's do the third one.
Okay. So it will not be.
It will not be.
Will not be our top 10 most disturbing or transgressive horrors. It will also not be.
It will.
You got to insert like a drum roll here.
It will not be.
Oh, you picked 2.
Oh.
So it won't be either of these. It will not be vampires or sci-fi horror.
Oh.
But make sure you only pick one this time. It will be, drum roll.
It will be
our top 10.
I think I've only got
for season 9
one this time.
Going to be, interesting. Home invasions.
I like home invasion, but they wig me out.
For sure. Yeah. What are your thoughts on home invasion?
They can be really bad, like them all. But I mean, I'm thinking about, for example, the original Strangers was really unnerving.
And we can put Stranger Chapter 2 in here now. Or 3.
Or 3. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So when I think of home invasion, I think of, maybe it doesn't have to be a single person.
Home Alone. I mean, that's...
Home Alone is actually the ultimate... I guess we can't choose it because it's technically not horror.
Yeah.
But yeah, a person or a group of people in a house, and you have people trying to break in to kill them.
There's, you know what? I've noticed there are some big name, horror films or whatever that have done home invasion, but a lot of smaller films do home invasion. Like I've seen quite a few Australian or different things where people live in remote places. And so that's a great time to do home invasion. I can think of a few that have really made me uncomfortable. So that'll be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do we have to set any parameters for this? In your mind, does home invasion have to be based in reality?
So you're thinking about like in space home invasion? Because I've seen some of those where something gets in.
Well, because you can make the argument like, is Night of the Living Dead home invasion where you have people in a house and they're defending it from zombies? Or if you have a vampire trying to get in, like...
okay, yes, I will draw the line there, because if the main feature is a different genre,
yes,
I will say no. that can't be home invasion. Home invasion could be part of that, but if it's predominantly a vampire film or a zombie film and there's elements of home invasion, I don't think that counts.
So should we say it has to be humans? It can't be a monster?
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think you could find lots of examples where it's technically a home invasion, but by a supernatural force,
Right.
or a monster or something. So in this case, we're saying has to be based in reality again, to some extent.
Yeah. I mean, so when I say that, it doesn't have to be on Earth if it's only humans.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Like, so if it's humans,
It's on the moon.
because I'm actually thinking of one that is in space, but has nothing to do with monsters.
Perfect. Cool. That's
So
what's neat.
yeah, that's the idea. So probably more for me than the listeners, because you were probably paying attention. This is for our season finale this year.
That's right,
Yeah,
that's
and
right.
then we're going to do top
For season
10.
9, for
Yeah,
season
season
9.
9.
Yeah.
Yeah, season 9, whatever that means. Season 9.
It is worth those setting parameters, because sometimes when you go and you start looking up films, you can find ones that kind of are
absolutely.
gray area
Yeah.
or kind of fit in the middle. So has to be a house, but could be in space.
Yeah.
Or a base.
That's
or like
unlikely, but
a structure
yeah.
that other people are trying to break into and to murder them.
Okay,
Cool.
sounds good.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about that one. So there we go. That was not rigged. That was live.
That
And
was live.
You can look forward to the end of the season being our top 10 home invasion films.
Indeed. So that's going to be, we're going to post this little thing on May 15th just to timestamp this where we're at right now. And then we're going to pull something from the archives, our top 10 of all time.
Yes. So from our first season, we finished our first season with our top 10, not best, but our favorite.
Our favorites. Yes.
So
good point.
if you just keep watching, I think we'll just edit that into this. So
Yes.
this should just run right into our all-time top 10 favorite horror
Yep.
films of all time. Awesome. Well, thank you for tuning in for this special episode. Enjoy our top 10 if you've not heard it before. And you can look forward to our top 10 of this season, which is home invasion films.
Indeed, indeed. And we'll see you in the aisles. Welcome back, Horror Hounds. This is the season 1 finale of Dudes of the Dead podcast.
Yeah, so we want to do something a little different for our season finale. We've done a lot of reviews this season, but we thought it would be fitting to let you in on kind of our horror proclivities and what films kind of influenced us as horror fans. So we thought it might be fun to break down our top 10 favorite horror films of all time. Important qualifier, this is not what we consider the best horror films ever. These are our personal favorites. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. And I wanted to jump in and say, so first of all, this was a really challenging list to make. And Mike and I both agreed that this wasn't going to be what we consider to be the best movies of all time, just ones that were important to us for whatever reason. The other thing I wanted to mention is just so that I'll probably mention this as we go through the list, but my criteria for this list, because what I think we will find as we go through my list anyway, there are very few, well, there are no really current movies on my list. And the reason being that I decided that my criteria was going to be what movies do I go back to over and over and over again, or had a lasting impact, even if I've only seen it a few times. So for me, I haven't gone back. There's a lot of fantastic horror films in the last few years, but I haven't gone back and watched them over and over again. But these are kind of my go-to. If I got a night I can watch a movie and I don't feel like a new one, I'll pick one of these ones for sure.
Yeah, I'm similar. There's two factors that are kind of interesting, I think, for this list, actually. So the first one, I don't feel I've always been a horror fan. I feel like I've really taken to the horror genre in the last couple of years, but I was more just a general cinephile. I liked lots of different films. And so I think a lot of the ones on my list are ones that kind of pulled me into the horror genre, with a few maybe more recent ones that I think are just really good. It's also maybe worth noting that we have a slight age discrepancy between the two of us. And I think so much of what impacts you and the reason that people are nostalgic for things when they were teenagers or when they were younger is that it made an impact on you the first time. But the time at which I'm watching these kinds of movies and getting to horror would have been a different time that you were watching these movies getting to horror. So it'd be interesting to see where our lists fall. Yeah,
Luke,
exactly.
I am your father.
So I'm quite a bit older than you, so I'm just curious to see,
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Okay, so we're gonna flip a coin. Who's gonna start first?
I'll let you start first because I'm a gentleman. But also I want to say that we had a slight disagreement over...
Just a slight disagreement. A lot of furious emails back and forth. Furious messengers.
So we decided to not compromise and just stubbornly go our own ways. So I'm I'm looking at this as a top 10. I've ranked mine. So in my mind, my number 1 is superior to my number 10. Whereas for you,
Yeah, for me, I did not rank mine. And at least I'm looking at my top 5. At any given moment, any one of those could be my number 1. Although I will say this when I say my first one, that's probably my number 1 all-time favorite.
oh, now you want to rank them.
Yeah, but I couldn't rank the other ones just because I have an issue with ranking in general because I think you go to a film sometimes for different reasons, and what I might find, film X is good at, film Y isn't, but vice versa. So I'm challenged about the ranking thing because a great movie is a great movie, no matter why you turn to it.
Yeah, it's not a perfect science. I think for me, there's a general trend, upward trend as I go from 10 to 1. But on any given day, like, could my 6 and 7 swap places? For sure.
Yeah.
And things change over time. But I kind of enjoy just the process of ranking. It was kind of fun. So.
Okay, well, I'll jump in with my quote unquote number 1. And as
number 10.
You're starting with your least favorite.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
This isn't these are all my favorites, but I will start with my number 10. And that is 1975's Jaws, Steven Spielberg. So I actually saw this in theaters when I was 10. And I have vivid memories of both my parents were smokers, and the last, 5 rows of the theater, you could still smoke in the theater. So I have vivid memories of being a kid, being in those last 5 rows, and I'm 100% sure it was my dad. My mom never would have taken me to see this. She wasn't really much of a film buff anyway, but seeing this in the theater, and I was terrified of water. We used to go to a little beachside community for every summer when my dad got his 2 or 3 weeks off, and I can remember just being terrified to go in the water. And I hesitate to admit this. I was even scared of the bathtub, which is completely ridiculous.
Yep.
But that's it. Jaws, number 10.
Yeah, and I'm sure public beaches were really hurting in the 5 to 10 years after that movie came out. So, I think if we were doing our top 10 best of all time, Jaws would be in a lot of people's. It's really well done. So, nice choice.
But interestingly, I was really excited to share that with my son, who's turning 25 this year, and he was not impressed at all.
Interesting.
And I'm like, what, are you kidding me? This is a classic. And he was having none of it.
Was it the shark itself just wasn't convincing? I haven't watched it in years, actually. I don't know how well it holds up.
He just didn't think it was a good movie.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, I'm not talking to you ever again. But yeah, it was just, I think there's a generational thing. I think part of it is growing up in a time where my expectations for practical effects were lower than his based on things that he's seen. But also, again, there's lots of films on this list that fall into this category where I saw it at a time that it had an impact on me. And I don't think that impact leaves you.
I think that's true for probably so many people, because even lots of people that I know that aren't horror fans would talk about Jaws in that light. So, okay, nice one. My number 10 is a little film called Ravenous from 1999. The concept is a remote military outpost in the 19th century. Captain John Boyd and his regiment embark on a rescue mission, which takes a dark turn when they are ambushed by a sadistic cannibal. So this is a super quirky, oddball film that's really dark, but also has a bit of humor. Has a really good cast: Robert Carlyle, Guy Pearce, and even David Arquette. So it's a good mix of mystery and comedy and quirkiness, and it has a really cool horror monster, which you don't see very often. Although, interestingly, it was one we saw recently in a film from last year. But this movie just has raw brutality, a really unique setting. And the soundtrack actually for me really stood out. Have you seen Ravenous?
I have, actually, on your recommendation, and I quite enjoyed it.
Would you call it a horror film?
That's borderline for me. I'm not sure I'd throw it in the horror category, but it has enough elements that it's arguable.
Yeah,
yeah,
it has
sure.
not to spoil anything, but it has a monster. It has quite a bit of gore. I think there are moments that are evoking a sense of horror.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I don't know why. It's kind of a quirky pick. I imagine this would not show up in many people's lists, but it really made an impact on me when I saw it in high school. Ravenous. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out.
Interesting. And to be upfront, I think I shared my list with Mike, but I have not seen his list, so they're going to all come as a surprise to me. Yeah, that's not one that I had on my radar as to put in my top. It's a good film though, and I enjoyed watching it. Yeah.
Did the soundtrack stand out to you at all when you watched it?
It doesn't ring a bell. Like, it doesn't, not as a standout for me, but I only watched it the one time. So, and again, it could be a time when you saw it had an impact on you. Right?
I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think without the soundtrack, it wouldn't have made my top 10, but it really sets the mood. So.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. What's your number 9?
Okay. Now this could easily be higher up on my list. My number 9 is 1982's The Thing, John Carpenter. And I have a real soft spot for John Carpenter, for lots of his films. But I would say I watch this one yearly, if not more than once a year. I think the cast is great. The special effects are bang on. Even, I mean, I would argue that the special effects you could go back now and watch, and they're a little bit dated, but they still have an impact.
The practical effects in that film are really impressive.
Yeah.
I think they actually probably would hold up.
Yeah, I mean, I think because sometimes when you get a really good CGI, I don't know if that's an oxymoron, really good CGI, but sometimes you can see the waxiness of the effects or whatever. But for me as a fan, that doesn't diminish the film at all.
Well, unlike CG, which doesn't always age well, at least the practical effects, I think, age better.
Yeah, I think you're right. And for me, this is just like the hostility of the environment and the hostility of the alien. I mean, Kurt Russell is just so good in that film, and I don't know. There's something that I never tire of in that film, and there's a loneliness and an isolation. I think for me, one of the things that draws me to it is that Carpenter has captured that isolation, that loneliness, and that's not easy to do.
The setting's almost a character in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I say, that could be much further up the list, but I had another Carpenter film on there, so I didn't want to get them too close together.
Surprised that one's so low.
Yeah, exactly.
Had you seen The Thing from Outer Space, the original, like the black and white one, before you'd seen this one? Or was this your first entrance to like based on the novel, right? Who Goes There?
Yes, and although I think I've done a pretty good job of going back and watching a lot of the originals, what's the one I'm thinking of? Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I've gone back and watched the 56 version and the 78 remake. This one I haven't seen the original 50s, 53 maybe was the original, but I just watched the 2017 Thing, and it's not, I thought it was a remake, but it actually picks up it's a prequel, and it ends where this one starts. And I thought it was pretty good. I wouldn't say it stands up to Carpenter's film, but as a prequel and kind of riffing off the ideas of Carpenter, I think it's pretty good. But no, I haven't seen the 53 or whatever it was.
You've not read the book, Who Goes There?
No, I haven't. Have you?
No.
Have you seen the...
I have seen the original in film studies
interesting.
class, actually, at UVic.
Interesting.
We got to watch that one. I actually really liked it. So.
Yeah, it's on my list of ones to go back to for sure.
Nice. Cool. Good pick. All right. So my number 9 is From Dusk Till Dawn, 1996. Nice. Directed by Robert Rodriguez. It's about two criminals, the Gecko brothers, are trying to escape across the U.S. border into Mexico. The cool thing about this movie, the first half of it, you would have no clue that this was a horror film. But I would say it does turn into a horror film,
for sure.
like, definitively. The best thing is the cast, I think, of this film. George Clooney, Quentin Tarantino, Harvey Keitel, Juliette Lewis, Donnie Trejo, Tom Savini, Salma Hayek. It's such a fun film. Like, this is just amazing dialogue. They're totally self-aware. They're having a really good time. And if you go into this film blind, you're in for a treat. And I'd recommend, if you've not seen this, don't watch a trailer, don't read anything, just sit down,
watch
it.
Just go watch it.
Yeah, and I don't think you'll regret it. Really good chemistry with the characters, amazing dialogue. I always liked Robert Rodriguez, almost up there with Quentin Tarantino. 4 Rooms, have you seen that?
Yeah.
Like the third room, Rodriguez's room, I almost like better than Tarantino's in the fourth one. So this is a wild ride, and yeah, solidly in my top 10, and I think number 9.
It's so good. It's such. I mean, I've watched it many times, but it's not one that I go back to yearly. But I think I watched it maybe last year. I watched it over the pandemic anyway. At some point, the last couple of years, and yeah, it's so good. It's so much fun. And yeah, once you kind of get past that halfway, like the build, and then it goes like full on crazy. It's so good.
Yeah, I actually had a copy of this film on VHS, and I had to hide it from my parents because they wouldn't have liked that I had that. The Cheech speech at the beginning wouldn't have gone over well. So, anyways, if you've not seen From Dusk Till Dawn, I highly recommend it.
All right, so that brings us to number 8, and my number 8 is Alien, 1986. What's to say about this? I mean, you've got the creature. It's just outstanding from top to bottom. Again, practical effects. I've gone back and watched some behind the scenes kind of stuff, and I've gone back since and watched in the alien scene in the kitchen or in the mess hall with John Hurt, and I can't remember the actress's name, but her reaction, she didn't know when I've seen her interviewed. When that thing comes out of his stomach and the squib explodes and she gets blood, she's literally screaming in that scene because she did not know that was going to happen.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so from top to bottom, I mean, Sigourney Weaver is fantastic. Yeah, I never tire of this film. And since I think it's been remastered, my only complaint when I watched this years ago was, and it could have just been the resolution of the copies that I was watching, but I found them to be a little bit dark, and I was, squinting, trying to, what the heck's going on in the blackness.
I think it has been remastered.
I think so, and because I know when I've watched it recently, it's like I don't remember that scene being so clear, especially the dark scenes. But yeah, it's just from top to bottom so good.
That's a great choice. Yeah, I like that. Now, I know lots of people are torn between whether they like Alien or Aliens more. Was there any debate for you?
None at all.
No, so Alien, hands down.
There's some other good films in the franchise, but hands down for me, this is the best. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, good pick. All right, so my number 8 is 28 Days Later from 2002. Synopsis: 4 weeks after a mysterious incurable virus spreads throughout the UK, a handful of survivors tried to find sanctuary. So, zombies got me into the horror genre. You may see other zombie films higher up on my list. But this one made a huge impact, directed by Danny Boyle, starring Cillian Murphy, I think, in one of his first roles. And I think this was notable for being, I think I'm correct, the first film with running zombies.
I think you're right.
So Romero had like the shambling, slow-moving zombies. And there's something really terrifying about zombies that run. And I think that's what really put this film on the map. Just the tension and intensity of knowing like every time there's zombies on screen and there's a character, like they are in big trouble because they can run.
And I'm a little bit jealous of some of the films that you've chosen. Actually, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a really good one. To me, the opening scene in that is terrifying. And before the glut of zombie films that we had through the early thousands, this one, not just for the running zombies, but if I'm remembering, isn't it? He wakes up in the hospital, right? Yeah. And then he goes out in the street, and that theme comes up all the time. But it for some reason that the opening of that one in particular really struck me. And it's terrifying. Yeah, the running zombies, because you figure, like, you watch Romero's film, he's like, yeah, okay, I could probably beat that guy.
You'd always say with your friends, like, yeah, I survived the zombie apocalypse, no problem. But running zombies, no, they're terrifying.
Yeah, terrifying. That's a good choice.
Because I saw it in theaters, I just remember being on edge the entire film. And it's just really well done too, like technical filmmaking,
absolutely,
like great acting, good soundtrack, pretty bleak. So I think it's one of the best zombie films ever, and it was kind of big before zombies got really obscenely popular. Yes. It's got on the edge before. Maybe they actually pushed it further into.
Yeah, I think so.
The most popular genre, but yeah, 28 Days Later.
Nice, good choice. And I was listening to you talk about or give a little synopsis, and I kind of avoided that on these just because I'm assuming that if you're a horror fan, you've probably, like, most of mine are classics, so I think you've seen them.
But that's so interesting because for people who don't know, we're teachers. So I talk to students all the time about horror films. So I'm guessing like any kid in high school right now probably actually hasn't seen any of these films.
That's a good point.
So I was thinking, given our potential audience, might be good to just give a brief synopsis.
Indeed. Well, my number 7 is 1983's Videodrome, David Cronenberg. Like, if you haven't seen a Cronenberg film, I don't even know how to do a synopsis of this film, except that James Woods plays a character who's seems to be constantly seeking things that are on the edge, and he runs a sort of a TV station, and he's looking for some pirate stuff to put on, sort of late at night, and that leads him down this rabbit hole. And this just got in my head. I actually saw this in theaters in 1983. I think I was in grade 11 maybe, or grade 10. I think I snuck in if I was underage. But it's edgy, it's sexy. Debbie Harry from Blondie is in this. And of course, growing up in the 70s and that kind of era where Debbie Harry was a bit of a sex symbol, that was very, very appealing to me as a pubescent boy. But if you haven't seen a Cronenberg film and his body horror, this one's got some great scenes. Again, stunning practical effects. I found the story really got inside my head, and it was like, it was one of those things that I spun on for a while, and I started thinking about, I was like, yeah, what if that, what if this, or what if that? So yeah, I've gone back and watched a lot of Cronenberg films, and I'm a bit squeamish in some of his scenes, but for body horror, you can't beat him. He's so good.
This is the first one on your list I think I've not seen, actually, embarrassingly enough.
Wow. Yeah, I would recommend.
Is this your favorite Cronenberg film? Or I guess that's spoilers for the rest of your list. But
No, it's the only Cronenberg film, just looking on the list. But it's not my favorite Cronenberg film, but it's close.
Right.
I would say if you wanted to see, like, you maybe go vintage Cronenberg, like Rabid, or something like that. But this one is really good.
I've heard about it for years. I'll add it to my list.
Indeed.
All right. Nice pick. So we have our first crossover. My number 7 is The Thing from 1982. Nice. So yeah, directed by John Carpenter, starring Kurt Russell. Same as you. Like, I love the sense of isolation being in the Arctic, and the sense of mystery, the kind of whodunit, in that you don't know who the enemy is or where the threat is coming from. And I mentioned we watched the original in our film studies class. And so one of the big themes was like transitioning from World War II into the Cold War and the fear of communism, this idea of like, okay, so no longer the threat is some like monster from elsewhere, like a werewolf or the thing from the swamp, or what's the swamp thing?
Yes.
Yeah, swamp thing.
Yeah.
Oh no, Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
Anyways.
It is a swamp thing, but yeah.
This fear of communism, the idea of like anyone could be the threat and you don't know what it is, was like really resonant at the time, which is maybe partly why it's so popular. But yeah, love this film. I have a board game, Who Goes There? So all the characters, you think you can trust each other, but one person's secretly the thing. You're trying to figure out who it is. It kind of creates that same tension. So yeah, the practical effects really good. I did watch this recently and I felt like it actually held up pretty well. But you've said enough about it already, but I agree with you. The Thing, 1982.
Yeah, it's such a good film. And coming to something that you just said about the characters turning on one another, it's another great element in the film. And I think a good director uses that to their advantage. That human nature part is like, yeah, when stuff starts going sideways, we're looking to turn on whoever we're with, right?
Yeah. And unlike it where you just have a monster or a threat, I think it's way more interesting and engaging when you're watching this for the first time, just watching everyone's behavior and trying to look for clues and trying to figure out like who's the thing.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
6.
Well, my number 6 pick, I haven't seen in a few years, but I went through a phase where I watched it a lot. And that is American Werewolf in London.
Nice.
1981. Again, you've got Rick Baker's transformation scene. It's sexy. There's some real, to me, and even going back now, knowing what's coming, there's some scary scenes, but it's also supremely funny. There's some really good comedy.
It's almost more of a comedy, do you think?
I would say it's a comedy horror for sure.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, maybe, I don't know if I'd say it's a black comedy because there's definitely horrific elements, but it's just so good.
Yeah.
I think the cast is great. Yeah, I went through a stage where I watched this multiple times a year. I just couldn't get enough. And there's some great music in it. I mean, so you got some Van Morrison and I really like, and of course it's, again, if you're listening and you haven't seen this one, you need to watch it just for the transformation scene, which was, I think, pivotal in the history of horror film in terms of what you could do on film with practical effects.
Yeah, I think it's widely considered to be one of the best like practical effects ever in film.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too because there's so many good vampire films, so many good zombie films, maybe not so many good werewolf films.
There's no pun intended. There's a lot of dog werewolf. Like there's a lot of bad werewolf films.
And there's just not as many of them, I don't think.
No.
We've seen one or two in the last few years.
Yeah.
But this would definitely stand out still as probably the best werewolf film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Good one. All right. So number 6 is a little more recent. It's The Conjuring from 2013. I think it's fair to say we've been kind of in a golden age of horror the last few years, maybe almost decade at this point. But I kind of feel like The Conjuring kicked that off a little bit. I seem to recall up until this point being kind of starved for good horror films in the early 2000s, maybe. So yeah, The Conjuring really stuck with me. And I know you and I have very similar taste in terms of we like haunting and demonic possession. And I felt like this was one of the best versions of that I've seen. It's directed by James Wan, starring Vera Farmiga, Patrick Wilson, Ron Livingston, and Lily Taylor. You and I saw this together in theaters.
I believe we did, yeah.
And yeah, I think partly because it's one of my favorite subgenres. But it's just really good. I think the real life element of it with Ed and Lorraine Warren, grounding in reality, makes it a little more interesting. And I remember getting chills at the end credits when they're showing the original photographs and how much they paralleled that in the film. Because you're not like, oh, okay, this wasn't just like a fictional film. Like this is technically something that happened. And seeing those like photographs was pretty eerie, actually.
That's a great choice. And again, like some of your other choices, I'm a bit envious. I didn't think about this one because I have gone back and rewatched it. And I think it's the strongest one still in my mind in the franchise. And there's some genuine jump out of your seat scares in this.
Yeah, because I tend to frown upon jump scares a lot of the time, but there's some really good ones in this one. And I remember just being quite terrified.
Absolutely.
Actually.
Now, was this the one where we had a not very cooperative audience? Because Mike and I have seen a few. Mike is so even keeled. I have rarely seen him get angry, but if you want to see Mike angry, go to a film where there's a disrespectful audience and he's apoplectic.
It might have been this one, actually.
I think it was this one.
Especially like films like this, which are completely reliant on the mood and the tension and the atmosphere. And so when you have like a bunch of giggling drunk teenagers sitting down from you, it really kind of ruins it. So yeah, this one, like masterfully directed, slow build, good characters. There's comedy to kind of break up the tension, amazing jump scares. It's just really good. And I think maybe it's been soured a little bit because people are like, oh, okay, The Nun and The Conjuring 7. But like the original Conjuring, I do think is like a masterpiece.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you say, I mean, you could argue that about Aliens too. There were some dogs in the franchise, I think, and that's certainly that's not indicative of the originals of those films, right? So you could say that about any franchise. It's like, okay, well, the studio got greedy and they thought they were going to make a ton of money, which they did. But that doesn't take away from the fact that the original or the first two are really good films. So yeah, this is a really strong pick. That's good. 5. All right. Well, my number 5 is Rosemary's Baby.
Oh,
1968. Roman Polanski directed this. There's so much to recommend this film. If you're a film student, and I've done a little bit of research and watching and reading about Polanski, and whatever you think of Polanski as an individual, his filmmaking and how he sees scenes, how he frames scenes. In this movie, how he builds tension, how the Dakota, I think it was filmed at the Dakota in New York. I mean, New York, like in many movies, is kind of a character in itself, but certainly that building, that apartment building, is kind of part of the character. It's just, there are things when I go back and watch it now. I mean, it's 1968. I think there are things that might feel a little bit dated, particularly the relationship between Mia Farrow's character and her husband. But there's just so much strength in the film. And the ending, of course, is controversial. And I love how Polanski is playing with that idea of how strong is the draw of motherhood, how much is it willing to overcome at the end of the film. And I think this was, it wasn't the first film, I'm sure, by any stretch. But in my mind, it's one of the first films in modern horror cinema that brings in the elderly as a horror. I mean, I'm thinking back to this. It's not the first one, because I'm thinking back to 1922's Haxan, I think it's called. And that was kind of a witchy, and they really focus on the hag part of the witch. I don't know why I'm doing, like air quotes, because you can't see what I'm doing.
I can see them.
But this one really focuses on that horrific elderly element. They seem kindly and they seem like they want to do everything for Rosemary, but there's something else there. And a lot of films right up until things that are very current right now. I was thinking about Relic or the new film X that's been out for a month or so. They also focus on that idea of the old being creepy.
For sure. It seems like little girls and old people are like the two things in horror, which are
absolutely
like unifying terror. This is it's true. I only watched this maybe 3 years ago. It absolutely holds up over time. Because it wasn't it's not just nostalgia. Like having gone into this, having not seen it, I knew about it forever, but finally watched it, and it was very unsettling. Like really well done, still holds up. What year was it? Did you have
68?
That? Yeah. So, yeah, in 2022, still holds up.
Yeah.
Very good pick. All right. My number 5. So I referenced earlier, zombies made a big impact on me. So this is Dawn of the Dead, but this is the Dawn of the Dead remake from 2004. Yeah. So directed by Zack Snyder, starring Sarah Polley, Ving Rhames, Mekhi Phifer, Jake Weber, and Ty Burrell. I do feel a little sheepish putting this on my list and not the original one. But I do think that when I watched this, I'm trying to remember if I'd seen the original first or this one first. But I think this one is excellent. I maybe think it's better. I at least find it more entertaining and enjoy it more. Really good ensemble of characters. It's quite funny. And the chemistry between them and their interactions between them is really interesting. The characters are dynamic, so characters who maybe you hate at the beginning, maybe you like near the end, and vice versa. Again, we have running zombies, which I think maybe is part of it. So there's a lot of tension. They're very threatening and dangerous. Really fun. You've seen this one?
I have, yeah.
Like really funny stuff when they're up on the rooftop.
Yeah.
And they're like picking off celebrities who've turned into zombies. Like, oh, there's Burt Reynolds, and hey, there's Rosie O'Donnell. Really good soundtrack. Like Johnny Cash, Richard Cheese. You know Richard Cheese? He does covers, like lounge tunes.
Oh, no, I don't.
He does the Down with the Sickness cover from the original Disturbed song. But I think at the time I watched it, I just thought it was really good. I don't know. Are you rolling your eyes at me for this pick, or what do you think?
I'm not actually. I mean, yeah, no, I'm not. I mean, and because although, I mean, you made a comment that all mine were kind of like classics, but there are, and that's what I said at the beginning. There's so many good films that could be on this list. This is by no means these are the best, but what importance do they have for you?
Yeah,
and obviously it has importance. So yeah, I think.
And if you were a teenager and you watched the original Romero Dawn of the Dead, then no doubt that probably made a big impact. But I would challenge maybe anyone, if you're to go in blind now and watch both of them, I have a feeling this one might come out on top.
Yeah, very much it could be.
And it still captures what Romero, I think, was going for. like the social commentary about like zombies like wandering in the mall, and the zombies kind of being the backdrop and the primary drive being like the characters and the interaction between those characters. And the real villain sometimes is actually the survivors, not the zombies themselves.
Yeah.
So I think it really honors what the original was trying to do, but updates it and makes it super entertaining and like a really good package. So I love Dawn of the Dead from 2004.
Nice. You might have to help me with this one because I didn't note the director, and I should know this off the top of my head, but I don't. My number 4 pick is 1974's Black Christmas, a holiday favorite.
I don't know the director off the top of my head.
So he directed, if I'm not mistaken, Home Alone.
Oh,
It's the same.
John Hughes?
No, did he? No, I'm not. It's not the right film then. This is a sad thing happening on a movie podcast.
Well, we could erase this part and pause it and go look it up and pretend that we did the whole time.
Yeah, maybe I'll put it in the show notes. Anyway, Black Christmas. I apologize for not knowing the director of that. 1974, Black Christmas. It's one of the first, again, not the first, but many people point to this as the precursor to the serial killer, boom that happened in the 1980s. One of the things I love about this film is you never see the killer. You see eyes, you hear the voice. And again, I mean, so many filmmakers could learn a lesson from this. Less is more, right?
100%.
And there's a bit of the 70s graininess to this. There's very un-PC drinking and smoking. It's just... There's some things, again, like you watch a film of this age and there's some things that have dated, but the atmosphere that's created and the filmmaking itself, and it's a low budget. If you grew up at a certain time, which I did in Canada, and you watch this film and you go, oh, Canadian, and you see all these actors and actresses that have gone on and done other things.
John Candy in it?
He is not in it. Not that kind of Black Christmas. Anyway, it's again reminding people this list is not ranked. My list is not ranked, so it's number 4. But again, I come back to this every Christmas, which maybe sounds a little morbid, but it is really, I think, really good. And my son and I have a lot of fun watching this every Christmas.
That's awesome. So it's a tradition for you?
It is a bit, certainly in the last, I'd say maybe 5 years or so. Yeah, for sure.
And would you say most of these you're watching around the time they came out?
A lot of them.
I've seen this one. It's really good. Good pick.
Yeah, I mean, how old was I? 8 when this came out. So I definitely didn't see this one. And I have gone back and watched, there've been, I think, 2 remakes, a 2017 and a 2006, maybe something like that.
Yeah. The most recent one, quite controversial, I think.
Yeah. I mean, the remakes don't stand up.
Maybe we'll get to that in season 2.
Yes, maybe we will. Maybe we will. So there's my number 4, Black Christmas.
Awesome. So this is quite a recent film, actually, in the last few years. Do you want to guess what it might be?
I'd prefer not to guess. Thank you.
So my number 4 is Hereditary from 2018. Directed by Ari Aster and starring Toni Collette. This is Ari Aster's first film, like full feature,
unbelievable,
which is totally insane. I think many horror critics would probably say this is one of the best horror films of all time. Like it reaches that upper echelon, I think, at least in my opinion. It feels revolutionary, I think, using utter depression and anguish as the main sense of horror. It's not necessarily tension or jump scares or a threatening monster. It's just unrelenting darkness and depression, which you don't see very often. So it's so bleak that it's horrific. Super rich filmmaking. Like you could watch this film 10, 20 times and pick up new things every time. Like I've seen some analysis online, just tiny little hints kind of woven throughout the fabric of the film, little details that are embedded, and you almost don't get the full sense of the story through dialogue. You almost have to pay attention to things in the background, which was super cool. And a really, like, Toni Collette makes this film. Yeah. I was pissed, actually, when they released the Oscar nominees and she was not on the list.
Yeah, it was, and that I think that's just a snub at horror films in general, right?
Yeah, I don't care who you are. Like this
Yeah.
performance was unreal, and I feel like she should have won an Oscar for that. So, anyways, Toni Collette forever in my upper echelon of actors because that was so good. So really good climax too. Like the end of the film, it's got kind of a slower build. I think. I mean, it's super dark throughout, but I remember having goosebumps like running up my spine at the end.
Yeah.
So really good ending. And from now on, anytime I see Ari Aster's name on anything, I'm instantly like, that's my number one most anticipated thing to come out probably.
And again, I would like to highlight if you haven't seen that film, it's worth watching just for Toni Collette's performance, if for nothing else. But there's much else that you could get out of that film. But her performance is worth watching in itself.
Like I've watched a lot of movies. I would say that's got to be up there with one of the best performances in a film ever. Like it's like obviously there's tons of roles that would fit that criteria, but I think she is so good.
Especially if you've seen her in anything else. And
Yeah.
and it's like, this is not, like I love Al Pacino, but he kind of plays a similar guy type in a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
I've not seen her do anything like that in any of her other roles that I've seen.
No.
And she's just off the charts good.
I remember her in like The Sixth Sense. She's like the little kid's mother.
Right,
I
right.
remember thinking she was good, but this is like next level, really good. So anyways, Hereditary 2018.
Nice pick. All right. Carrying on to number 3. We have The Exorcist from 1973.
Yes.
Again, what do you say about some of these, from the iconic streetlight scene to the pea soup? I love this one
The crucifix.
from top to bottom. Yeah, I didn't mention that one. I have a little story about this one because it's 1973, so I was 7. It was floating around. I'd heard the movie mentioned because it was kind of in public consciousness, but I hadn't seen it. And we had, when I was a kid, we lived in a townhouse and we had a sort of basement, rumpus room. This was the 70s. And in the summertime, when the upstairs was hot, my brother and I sometimes would sleep in the basement because it was cooler. And we had an old black and white TV with a little switch that you had to click the
remember
channels. And I remember, that sometimes movies like this would come on like at midnight or something. And I can remember only watching a few minutes of this.
Were you 7?
No.
Oh, okay.
This was later in the 70s. I was probably 11.
Okay.
So maybe 77, 78. I might have been 12. It terrified me. Absolutely. And I could not, I wanted to watch it for years. I never watched it from start to finish until the 90s.
Wow.
And I bought the 25th anniversary edition on VHS and I watched it, and it again terrified me.
That has like the spider walk and stuff.
Yeah.
In it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those ones I go back and watch it at least once a year, and it still gives me chills. I don't have the same terrified response that I used to. So I've got past that, but it still intrigues me as a film. The content intrigues me. Now I know a little bit more about William Friedkin's directing, and I've seen interviews with, and so there's also that, Hollywood lore element that I find fascinating.
Documentary about the making of the film is like almost just as interesting as
Absolutely.
the film itself. Like,
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
But yeah, it's that's definitely well placed. Like it's number 3. And I'd say that's a pretty solid, like I don't know that it would ever be my number 1, but it's going to be in those top 3. It would go back and forth for sure.
For sure. And so if you saw it on TV the first time, it must have been heavily censored as well. I'd imagine the version they put on television at that time would not have been.
It was, yeah. And I mean, I didn't watch it from start to finish. I remember watching a few scenes, and I had asked my mom, I do remember this. I'd asked my mom if I could stay up to watch it because it came on really late, but it was summertime. It was coming on at midnight or 11 p.m. or something. And she was like, absolutely not. So of course,
smart.
yeah. So of course I mean, she probably knew me better than I knew me. And I just thought, well, I'm going to watch this. And I only watched a couple minutes and I was terrified. I didn't see it through. and even at that, it took me years to go and watch it in its
That's pretty telling right
entirety.
there.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if that's going to have the same impact on somebody who's coming to it at 25 for the first time.
I would like to think it holds up, but yeah, it'd be interesting. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and again, we've talked about this. Like, I think sometimes when you see something at a stage in your life, it has an impact. I mean, there's no arguing that this is a great horror film, but whether it has the same impact if you've seen it at 11 as, than at 30, I don't know, because hopefully you've matured somewhat.
I'll show it in class next week and I'll report back.
Exactly.
How it
Yeah,
goes.
thanks. Appreciate that.
Okay. Excellent pick. All right. My number 3 is Night of the Living Dead. Again, the remake from 1990. So this is directed by Tom Savini, starring Tony Todd and Patricia Tallman. And I would say...
Not the original?
I know.
Okay. I might have to take you up on that one.
But again, I think this theme keeps coming up. Like at the time that I watched it,
Yeah.
I was not a horror fan. Like I credit this film more than any other film in existence for being the film that turned me from like just a normal film buff into a horror film buff. Just this idea of the monster being more of the backdrop and the characters being more of the threat was so interesting to me. And I know obviously now, like we look back and Romero was revolutionary in having like a woman and a black man as the two protagonists. Like I think that was lost on me at the time.
Right, for sure. Yeah.
But it was Halloween night and we wanted to just rent a horror movie. I hadn't watched that many horror movies, so we went with this one. And now I love the original too. The original is still great. And had I watched it in reverse order, it may have
Yeah, fair enough.
been the other way around. But for this one, I mean, Tom Savini still,
Yeah.
worked closely with
Yeah,
Romero.
yeah.
And I think does it justice. It's not necessarily a shot-for-shot remake, but it's actually pretty close.
Yes, it
I think
is,
it's
yeah.
very close to the original,
Yeah.
just with some updated things. But just the decisions that have to be made. Do we go upstairs? Do we go downstairs? And do we try and fight them? Or do we run? Or do we try and get the keys? Like, there's just these interesting decisions. And because they're not super threatening, like we mentioned, like running zombies, it's kind of interesting to like put yourself in that
Right.
scenario of like, what would I do and how would I, of course I'd survive because everyone thinks they'd survive. But yeah, I just think more than any other film, I think the reason this is on my list is just it turned me into a horror fan and a zombie fan. So then I, love Resident Evil, all board games. I love zombie things. Anything zombie I was into because of this film. So have you seen this one?
I have. Yeah. I think I've seen all of those originals and remakes.
What are your thoughts?
Well, again, it could just be I have a bit of a penchant for black and white.
Yep.
I would probably choose the original over this one, but I can understand why you would choose it.
Yeah, I think had I seen the original first, it would have had the same impact, but this is just the one that I saw first.
Yeah,
so.
fair enough.
And I think it's pretty close. So there we go. Night of the Living Dead.
All right. Well, we're getting close. My number 2. Tobe Hooper's 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is an absolutely outstanding film. And if you've looked at a little bit of the lore, you understand why the film has the feel that it has, because I think the actors and actresses were going through the horror. It was like apparently 108 degrees when they were filming. That house was, a lot of that stuff was as disgusting as it looks on camera. I was 14 when I saw this film, actually rented it. And I was already a bit of a horror hound around that, like starting 12, 13, 14. And I don't know if you had,
Way younger than me.
if you had this experience, but do you remember there was laser discs? This was sort of
Vaguely.
before DVDs, but after VHS.
Are these big ones?
Yeah,
Yeah.
huge laser discs. Anyway, it has nothing to do. I saw this on VHS, but for some reason I just remembered laser discs because I remember one weekend there was a video store by my place, and this was later. I was probably 17. I had a buddy and we would go. You could get a deal if you rented 10 movies.
I remember doing that.
For the weekend. And it was just like nonstop movies.
Run home in marathon. as
Yeah,
you can,
exactly. Anyway,
It's like 10 films, $10 or something, right? Be like $1 a rental or something.
well, the Laserdisc thing was more because you had to rent the player because we didn't have a Laserdisc player.
Right.
So I remember it being, and I mean, who knows what my memory's like. I remember it being $50 for 10 movies for Saturday, Sunday, and the Player.
Okay, that's pretty good.
I mean, I wasn't making a ton of money at the time, so $25 each was a lot. But
$1,000 today. Probably.
exactly, like with inflation the way it is now.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the things I really enjoy about this film, and I go back and watch, it has this reputation for gore that doesn't exist. It's not there in the film. It's in the mind of the viewer, and Tobe Hooper is leading you to a place in his filmmaking that actually isn't there on film. It's not a slasher film like Halloween or Friday the 13th or but it has this reputation of being this horrible, disgusting film.
I mean, we could do a whole podcast on this
For sure.
Maybe we will. But I hated this movie when I watched it. And I think that's why. Because I watched it when I was older. And I was expecting, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like, let's go. And I was so disappointed. I'm like, what is this? There's like nothing. It's just a girl running around in the woods screaming for like half an hour. Yeah, so that's interesting because for you loved it, but I kind of hated it. But I think it's because what you're saying, it has this reputation. It's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You expect this crazy slasher bloodbath thing. And it's really not. It's
not at all. And it's interesting because I didn't know enough about the film to have that expectation. And then of course I fell in love with just the grit of the film and the look of the film and the things that he does. It really creeped me out when I first saw this. And I kept going back partly for that adrenaline rush.
It's super unsettling.
It's very unsettling.
Creepy and weird, but just not what you expect.
Yeah.
Or what I expected.
And then, this may end up coming up again in season 2 because there's definitely been a few remakes of this one over the years.
There's a few on our list from tonight. So interesting. Yeah. Good pick. I'm sure that would be on many people's top 10s.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Yeah.
All right. So my number 2 is a little controversial, perhaps, in that it kind of borders the line between crime drama, psychological thriller. I think it's horror, though. And this is Seven from 1995. Directed by David Fincher with an absolutely outstanding cast with Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Kevin Spacey. The premise being there's a serial killer who is killing based on the 7 deadly sins. And so each of the murders is kind of framed around the different 7 deadly sins. But if you look at what gets thrown on horror lists today, like even just body horror, this film alone, just based on body horror, I feel like fits.
That's fair. Yeah.
I think this and Silence of the Lambs, people struggle with a little bit, whether it's truly characterized as a horror film. But I feel like this film is very dark. I think there's moments where it's certainly horrific. Unlike some crime dramas, I just feel like this one does dip its toe into horror more. The ending is quite horrific. And I would say this is one of the best endings to a film ever. I think it's so masterful and brilliant. Yeah. I'm not going to spoil it, but if you've not seen Seven, I think it's a must watch.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
You really are in for a treat.
A dark treat, but it's a good treat.
Yeah, like if you like Titan, which we reviewed earlier this season, like if that's a horror film, I feel like Seven is a horror film.
I'm not going to argue with you over whether it's a horror film because I think arguably it could fall into that category. It didn't come up in my mind, but it's an outstanding film. I mean, I have no issue there, no question. I mean, it's so well done. It's just I don't question it being on the list. It's dark enough to be a horror film in my mind.
Because the thing that makes it memorable and the things that stand out for me make it like those are horror like things. Like what is happening to these people who are being killed and the state of the bodies when you see them and what happens at the end. Like I think all fit in the horror genre.
Yeah.
Would you say Silence of the Lambs is a horror? I think they're very similar that they walk that line.
Yeah. And it's interesting too because they're both, I think part of what people sometimes struggle with, and I don't agree with this at all, is that, that highbrow, that elevated horror. And I think both of these fall into that because of their cast, because of the director. And it's interesting. I think Silence of the Lamb is a horror film because of its content. Although you don't see much horror, it's a lot of implied.
like I feel that 7 maybe even goes further into horror territory
Absolutely.
than Silence of the
Yeah.
Lambs.
Yeah, I would agree.
But I've certainly heard in people's top 10 lists of all time, like Silence of the Lambs gets in there.
As a horror film.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's a little bit sketchier. I think because of the darkness of 7, it's a better deserving title of a horror film.
Yeah.
That's an interesting choice. I wouldn't have thought of that one, but I'm not going to argue it. It's a really strong choice.
Yeah. Anyway, so if you've not seen 7, I think you have to watch it, and don't read anything. I think I won't even spoil it, but the ending I think has become a bit of a meme. You see
Yeah.
it around a lot.
Yeah.
But anyways, you'll get it if you've not seen it.
And that's unfortunate because it's so good.
So
and
good.
like you say, it's the first time I saw it, I can remember my jaw dropping on the floor.
Same.
It's like, what? How is that possible?
I spent part of my 20s just hunting down people who've not seen that movie and like watching it with them so I can see their reaction to
Yeah,
things.
it's so good. Good choice.
All right, that's my number 2.
Okay, so we're down to number 1.
Number 1. You're gonna put like a drum roll thing in before this? I guess,
Oh,
or-
absolutely. Yeah. There'll be some sound effects in here for sure. Now, I said my list was not ranked, which it wasn't. But to be honest, I think not only is this my favorite, but I think it would probably stay at number 1
I think I know.
for forever. And that is John Carpenter's 1978 Halloween.
Oh, okay.
I saw this on Halloween night on TV, so it must have been cut, but it wasn't cut enough that it lessened the impact on me.
Do you know how old you were?
Yep, it would have been 79, probably the year after it came out, because I did not see it in theaters, because I'm pretty sure it would have been, I don't know if there was a 17 rating at the time, so it might have been restricted, or it might have been 14, but it came out when I was 12, so I couldn't have got in. But it is so, I love the kills. I love the mask. I love the theme. I even, when I was in university and I was doing my music degree, I actually got a piano player to teach me how to play the theme. Nice. And I actually remember bits
Such a good theme.
It's such a good theme. Yeah. And John Carpenter wrote it, which blew me away. Because he's a bit of a jazz musician and he's done some compositions. I think he's done a lot of the music for a lot of his films, if not all of it. But the theme is so simple, but it's kind of like Jaws, right? That theme of it's 2 notes.
Yeah.
But it's unrelenting. And it's so spot on for the shark in the film being unrelenting. And just, I feel that way about the theme in this one. It's just, it drives the film. There's lots of flaws like there are with many movies. And this, I have a real soft spot for this original Halloween. I just love it. I love Jamie Lee Curtis as the final girl. I love some of the kills. I loved when I was younger trying to wrap my head around how Michael Myers would possibly be in all those places all at the same time. And I just love it. I just love the film. I love the 70s vibe from it.
Did you pick up on the William Shatner mask the first time you watched it?
I did not. That came later, actually. And it was a real fun reveal for me. It's like, really?
It's a cool story.
Yeah, it is a cool story. So yeah, anyway, I watch that at least once a year. And I just adore it. It's just such a great film. And like I say, I have a soft spot for Carpenter anyway, but this one's definitely my...
So you got this for your Halloween tradition and Black Christmas for your Christmas Eve
Exactly.
tradition?
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. All right, well, my number 1, which is our second crossover, I think, for our lists, is The Exorcist from 1973.
Nice.
Yes, because you were saying maybe not number 1, but for me, this is absolutely hands down, easily number 1. We don't really swear on this podcast, but this film scared the shit out of me when I was probably grade 7 or grade 8. And I think this is like the first true proper horror film that I watched. And it had definitely had a reputation. I always remember asking my parents, like, oh, like, what's the scariest movie you ever saw? Like, oh yeah, The Exorcist, easily The Exorcist. And we had gone to church as kids, so the religious element of this and the idea of like demonic possession felt a little more real than perhaps for some people. Like I was not allowed to go anywhere near Ouija boards as a kid. My parents wouldn't let me play Dungeons and Dragons or Magic the Gathering, that whole like satanic panic thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I went to stay with my cousins in middle school away from my parents, and they're pretty loose. So I'm like, hey, let's go to the video store and rent a horror movie. Like, sure. So we're like, watch The Exorcist. And then I totally regretted it once I started watching it. I literally had a blanket over my head because it was so terrifying. Like you were saying, like you trying to watch it on TV and you couldn't finish it. I did finish it, but it was hard. Like I don't know how much of it I actually watched. But I couldn't go to sleep. Like that night, every time I closed my eyes, I just saw her face, that like black, freaky, like the makeup. Yeah, it was really terrifying. And there's something about films from the 70s have a quality to them that's just a little more real, or a little more like the 80s is more like cartoony. You have like Freddy and Jason, like they're a little more campy. The 70s plays it pretty straight, and they have just a realism to them that I hadn't experienced in films really, and that just freaked me out and made a huge impact. And it didn't really make me a horror fan though, because I was so terrified. I was just like, this is horrible.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it's funny because you were saying, I've tried to show this film. I've talked it up to people like, oh, this is the scariest film ever. And they laugh through it. Like people later, like I think maybe it depends on how old you are when you watch it, and perhaps like if you have a religious background or not. But it's interesting. Not everyone finds this film to be completely terrifying.
Yeah, it is interesting. And I mean, I'm hearing what you're saying about, like, I didn't grow up religious, but I like you, I have a real penchant for possession films. There's something really unnerving, and there's something about them for me. There's a little twinge of, well, what if? And even though I wouldn't class myself as a religious person or as a believer, there's still a tiny part of me that's like, what if I'm wrong?
I think this was actually based loosely on a story from like maybe a boy in the UK or something. But
I believe so. Yeah. And it's, I mean, it's a great number one choice because it is, I would argue, still a terrifying film.
When I watch it, still scares me. But I've been almost embarrassed because I would talk it up and then bring someone, we would watch it together, and they were like not scared at all.
Interesting.
For me, it was totally terrifying.
Interesting. Yeah. And it's just such a great, I mean, it's great filmmaking too. And there's something visceral about the film. It's not just the pea soup. And of course, when you learn the background,
yeah, exactly, and
you learn, oh, okay, it was minus 40 degrees when they were in that room when you could see their breath. Like he actually put them in a freezer,
and she's actually screaming in pain because she just broke her ribs because of some crazy contraption having her flopping around on the bed.
Yeah. It's just, it's just, again, it's one of those ones that even if you don't find it as frightening as Mike and I do, I think if you're a film buff, it's worth watching for the filmmaking and for the history of film to say, okay, well, this was a seminal film of the 70s, right? And like French Connection or there's a few in there. I think this is one that even if you're not a horror fan, it's worth watching as a film fan.
Yeah. And just her room, like you'd be calm, there'd be like some dialogue, some chatting downstairs, it's all good, but every time they would go up into her room, you just like know something awful's gonna happen. So anyways, number one pick, The Exorcist.
Well done. Well, that's this is 4 times longer than our typical episode, and that's Mike and I had agreed that we would not be worried about time on this one because we kind of wanted to give you, the listener, a sense of where we were coming from in our horror reviews. And so that wraps our finale episode. Anything else you want to add, Mike?
No, I thought your list was really good.
Yeah.
I was surprised no Omen. I thought that'd be on your list for sure.
Yeah, it actually got bumped. It was on there, and it got, I don't know which one bumped it, but it was on there because that is one that I've watched many times. And it's definitely, it doesn't scare me as much, but it's definitely a solid film for sure. All right, we'll see you in the aisles.